What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another modern video, and I cannot tell you how great it feels to be back behind the camera and deliver some sweet modern and pioneer content to all of you patiently waiting for me to come back. With holidays and moving and all that, things were kind of stressful slash not really giving me much time to record. A lot of my time was devoted to working, packing, and making sure that the family and everybody else got taken care of through the holidays and of course through the moving process. So for a return such as this one, so grand and emphatic, of course, as you can tell by my tired voice as I record this late at night, I got a pretty sweet deck that is different from all the other ones that we went over this past year in 2022. So in 2023, I want to bring something fresh, new, and exciting to the forefront, and it's a deck that has existed in Modern and has been around for actually quite a long time and saw a brief stint in the sun, but has kind of stuck to the shadows of Modern as being like a tier 2 or possibly tier 3 deck. So today, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the Thopter combo deck for the modern format and kind of get an idea of what the heck this deck is trying to do in a world of pitch elementals, scam, and Murktide. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck. So here we have Thopter combo, powered by GYYBY297. Took it to a 3-1 record, good enough for an 8th place finish in the Modern Preliminary. Of course, before we go any farther and talking about the deck, I got to do some shelling. It's been a while. So if you want to support my channel and you like seeing Modern Pioneer content, along with a few other interesting video ideas and such that I come up with on a near daily basis and only record like 5% of them, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. There's also a link in the description to my Discord server. Go ahead, join over there, talk about Magic and stuff. Big fan of all of that. And of course, go over to twitch.tv and follow me, Crowday_23, as I try to find out how the heck I can actually stream to YouTube directly with jumping up through all the hoops that I've jumped through and still not being able to change it. But that's a good place to check me out if you want to watch some of the streams where I'm going to be playing a little bit of modern Pioneer and stuff as it comes up, and then getting into some video games as well, just so I can tackle the massive backlog of games and stuff that I have that I want to tackle that I don't really have much free time for. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at Thopter Combo. Thopter Combo is trying to assemble 3 different cards in a way to go infinite. So the first piece that we have is a card called Thopter Foundry. Thopter Foundry says that you can pay 1 and sacrifice a non-token artifact, create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and you gain a life. While this card by itself can definitely generate some value, when you have cards like Chromatic Star and some other stuff. Really, Chromatic Star being the big one because you can like pay 1, sacrifice it to make the Thopter, and then you get to draw a card because of the star, and of course you gain a life, and so on. But the main part of this combo and the second piece of our 3-piece combo is the Sword of the Meek. Sword of the Meek, nothing special, is a 2-mana artifact equipment that gives an equipped creature +1/+2 and equipped for 2. However, when a 1/1 creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. So what ends up happening is that you, like, say, sacrifice an artifact, you make a 1/1, you have a Sword of the Meek in your graveyard. Sword of the Meek is like, hey, you just made a 1/1 Thopter. Slap the sword right on it, and then for all your mana, you can sacrifice the sword to create a 1/1. The sword will come back attached to that 1/1, and so on. So if you have just these 2 cards in play and you have 5 lands, you could essentially make 5 1/1s, the last one being end up being a 2/3, and then also gaining 5 life. Pretty good when other decks are trying to out aggressive you, kind of like in the zoo matchups and things of that nature. Even like Murktide to a point, like you just make infinite chump blockers for Murktide region and for Dragon Rage channelers and just gaining life in the process. Eventually, you'll be able to overwhelm them with your massive board of flyers, and that's kind of the idea of this deck. The way it goes infinite, though, is the third piece of the deck, which is Urza Lord High Artificer, which I have to scroll all the way up here to get to. So Urza, when it enters, it makes a 0/0 construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, and then you can tap an untapped artifact you control to add blue mana. That being the key, because essentially you can, say, tap the Sword of the Meek for a blue mana, sacrifice it using Thopter Foundry's ability to go make a 1/1. Sword of the Meek will come into back untapped, and then you could just tap the sword again for to sacrifice it, make a 1/1, it comes back, so on and so on. And then now with all these untapped Thopters, you can tap them for mana and then activate Urza's ability. You can end up just like flipping a ton of these cards into play, and then putting a nettle or a Calder Complete, a Nettle Cyst, and really just setting yourself up to kind of win like that turn. Even though like the army of like tap Thopters that just gained you near infinite life is not enough, or rather, the untapped infinite Thopters that gave you infinite life isn't enough. You are able just to kind of flip and cast cards with Urza Lord High Artificer. Now, obviously, there's some setup that you have to take, and you obviously have to survive to do this combo because obviously you have a 2 mana Thopter Foundry, you have a 2 mana Sword of the Meek, and you have a 4 mana card that you're trying to resolve, which, if you do not have the other two in play, isn't necessarily going to end the game on its own. However, there are some artifacts in this deck, as you see, you play 17 of them, where you can kind of abuse Urza in a way. So, you have cards like Aether Spellbomb, Chromatic Star, Pithing Needle, Portable Holes, Relic of Progenitus, Shadow Spear, Spring Leaf Drum, Sword of the Meek, Talisman, Thopter Foundry, Nettlecyst, Culture Complete. All these can tap for mana. Obviously, Stoneforge Mystic can go fetch up Nettlecyst, your Culture Complete, and your Sword of the Meek, probably, and Shadow Spear. Being able to get all these cards again, Sword of the Meek is one of the main 2 card combo and a part of the 3 card combo. So just having a card like Stoneforge Mystic, be able to search for it. Ingenious Smith, getting you look at the top 4 cards and just reveal an artifact from them. Having enough hits to where if you don't find necessarily a Sword of the Meek or a Thopter Foundry, any one of these cards will kind of help forward your game plan. Portable Hole being kind of nice because it is a white artifact. You are a pseudo base white deck, and the fact that it is an artifact means that Urza will allow it to tap for mana. Pithing Needles, Chromatic Stars, the Aether Spellbomb, Relic, Shadow Spear, Springleaf Drum, etc. all search up with the 4 copies of Urza Saga that are in the deck. This deck, like many of the other Urza Saga's decks, can just go and like make 1 or 2 constructs, then go get a Shadow Spear, and then just be down that way. On top of that, the fact that you also just get to make an infinite amount of Thopters paired with the Urza, construct that it makes, just fetching up a Shadow Sphere and putting on an infinitely big token is a way to just end the game as well in one attack without having to attack with your Thopters. Again, it might seem overkill on like a lot of it because once you have infinite life, there really isn't that many decks that can deal with infinite life. So that's kind of nice. And most decks that can't even really deal with, 8 to 10 life a turn, and especially making flyers as well. Really stopping some of the hammer time decks for getting through with Inkmoth with an instant speed hammer. The uh, big counters decks, of course, I can't remember the hardened scales decks. Um, yeah, like this deck just gets to play aggressively reactive in a way. You have these 4 metallic rebukes where you play like just these cheap, sort of kind of do nothing artifacts, and they just really make metallic rebuke cheaper. It's a very time raveler, getting to reset like your portable holes, your pithing needles on basically whatever you need. Getting to like save a Sword of the Meek or a Thopter Foundry, or even resetting like a Nettle Cyst or something like that. Resetting a Stoneforge Mystic, Ingenious Smith, so on and so forth. Just a nice little one of in the deck. Also allowing you to basically know that you're kind of safe to go off at any point with any of your spells and so on. The mana base, you have 1 Cavernous Hole. I'm assuming just to make sure that Urza ends up resolving, getting to name a human. You can cast basically everything except Stoneforge Mystic if you name human with it. I guess also giving you like the pump fake. I wonder if these are all artificers too. Oh, okay. So if you name artificer, you can cast everything but Esper Sentinel. You name human, you cast everything but Stoneforge Mystic, which is kind of neat. Darksteel Citadel, just being another artifact that can kind of pump up the other card, or excuse me, can pump up the constructs from Urza, Lord High Artificer, and Urza Saga. On top of that, just getting to also be sacrificed to Thopter Foundry to kind of just get your engine going. Iganjo, just as like a removal spell slash a white land that you can play again in your pseudo base white deck. 4 Flooded Strand, Hallowed Fountains, Islands, Otawara, just being a good kind of catch-all land that's basically free to play in the deck. Rogern Triome to fix your mana, also be able to cast the 2 copies of Wear Tear in your sideboard. You have Rivertide or Razortide Bridge, which is the blue-white artifact land. Again, can uh, boost up your Urza Saga artifact big creature dumb tokens. Also getting to be sacrificed to Thopter Foundry to be turned into Thopter's Leader. Seachrome Coast is a fast land that's come to play untapped in the early turns. And of course, for Urza Saga to round it out to fetch out some of your other artifacts. Make the tokens that can also eventually just end the game and just overall being an annoying card because this card is really sick as it turns out ever since it's been printed. Sideboard, you have prismatic endings. Having the red mana from Ragran Triome makes it so you can boost this up to 3. More relics of Progenitus, Containment Priest, stop the creativity decks because those decks are just full of monsters. Flusterstorm, I'm assuming again for like the creativity decks. You have Mystic Reflection. So you choose target legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. So you could just have, you can kind of mess with your opponent's creatures that come into play from their little creativity stuff. You can like target their token and then they just all come into play as a copy of like that card and just severely neuters their archons and things like that. Sanctifier and Vec pretty good against like the scam decks. Sort of Fire and Ice, a classic, probably one of the best swords that you can play if you are going to play a sword that is not named Sword of the Meek. Overall, just a really good card and really good protection against popular colors in the format. Hint, hint, Murktide, Wear Tear, and Supreme Verdicts. Supreme Verdicts just kind of being a good emergency button where you can kind of play like more of a control deck and just kind of wait to, I guess, play everything in one turn. Obviously not good when you have a board full of Thopters, but aside from that, just a good emergency button when you need it against some super aggressive decks. One Solitude, the white cards in the deck, because I mean, you do play, 10, 12, or 11 of them, 15 of them in the main deck, 18 if you got the Thopter Foundries, so you can sort of kind of support it. So playing one is kind of fine, and eventually, like, you could just cast this card. So I mean, that could end up meaning something. And that is the Thopter combo deck for Modern. Kind of like a sporadic mess. Kind of explains this deck very well because it is just kind of like a hodgepodge of cards that either used to be good, like Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo, used to be banned in Modern at one point just because it was a not necessarily an infinite combo, but infinite equal to the number of like lands and mana that you could produce. You have like Urza, which like dominated Modern a long time ago when we had like Oko and we had Astrolabe and things like that. So, in this combo being a something that was paired together back when Hogak was legal, because your opponents couldn't, you could like combo theoretically fashion like the Hogak deck could combo as long as they didn't like have an absolute nut draw. But then I think once they like kind of got perfected, they were faster than you. So, this deck just does something that is really interesting. It's pretty sweet, honestly, when you think about it, and super satisfying just getting to make a board of Thopters, having infinite life, and telling your opponent, like, hey, what can you do about this? And usually the infinite life is what gets them, uh, because they are not going to be able to kill you on the next turn unless they're playing some other weird, like, janky deck. And as long as you don't tap all your flyers, you're not dying from infect either. And then on the next turn, of course, you are just destroying them with your army of Thopters. So let me know in the comments below if you like this deck, if you've played it before, if you think it's just a pile of garbage. I don't know. Just tell me something about it. I like it. I've played against it plenty of times, back in its like heyday. And while I don't think it's necessarily like a very good choice in a field full of like Murktide and things like that, if there are some people that want to play like more mid-range type decks and just kind of try to control you that way, maybe even playing like control and stuff like that. I do kind of like decks like this that just can kind of go over the top of everything. And if they let you set up or, they stumble for a turn, that this deck can punish you very harshly by just kind of outright winning the game. Again, not necessarily that same turn, but on the next turn, like they're just dead. And then if they're not dead that turn, they're probably just never killing you. So that's gonna do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Of course, so consider subscribing to the channel if you stay till the end, and ring the notification bell so you know when I post more videos like this. Of course, doing Pioneer content and some other mishmash of things. Be sure to follow me on Twitch at crawdaddy_23. Hopefully, I can figure out how to broadcast to YouTube as well. But until then, you can follow me over there and watch some streams and stuff once I get started up here. Hopefully, very, very soon. Hoping this week. And yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.